Yes, we are.
We're live, man. Episode 107, Beefy Boys Breakdown, UFC 280 Breakdown. I mean, biggest card of the year. Even if it's not in reality, it is in perception. And, it's like perception is reality. Like, it feels like the biggest card of the year. As always, we're starting off with the prelims, which include big fights, including the likes of Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. I mean, that's like a fight night main event.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, I can't believe that we got, a prelims this stacked. I get it, right? Because the main card is ultra stacked. So, like, if they're gonna try and keep that moving, this is pretty much like probably the best card of the year, wouldn't you say? Like on paper, I don't know if it played out that way. That's debatable.
Yeah, what was it? Was it the Yuri Glover card that was pretty stacked too? That
Yeah,
I think
and that
that's the
fight was so good.
so good. Yeah, I think that's the only one that could be mentioned. Because honestly, if we're being real, 2021 was way better than 2022 to this point as far as pay per view and being super stacked and all that. Like I mean, think about some of the kind of weaker pay per views. We bought two non-title pay per views this year. There was
Oh
Shemaev
yeah,
Diaz
Shemaev Diaz.
and then Masvidal Covington.
Yeah, that's true. Which
So like we've had some weaker pay per views. So I mean, like I
that's
think
yeah.
2021 was more stacked like as a year.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I also think December might save it a little bit because I think they're
Yeah,
planning something huge for December, from what I've heard.
yeah.
Um,
This 282 is supposed to be crazy. We got Izzy Pereira next weekend, or not next weekend, next pay per view, and some stacked fight nights coming up. Alan Cater fight night. I'm juiced for it. It's not the
yeah,
deepest card, but that main
that
event,
that's his
like,
next one up.
that piques my curiosity for
And also,
sure.
I think if Arnold Allen wins that, it's gonna be hard to say he might not be deserving of that next title shot there.
Yeah, I foresee a possible interim in the featherweight division, not
Yep,
because of anything Volk did wrong, just because of how shit's playing out, and we'll
right,
get to that.
right. I agree with you, but we can go ahead and dive into the fights. You want to introduce the first one?
Yes, sir. We got Carol Hosa, who, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she in the main event with Misha Tate?
Uh,
Or
was that Carol
was that
Hosa?
Carol Hosa? I thought it was. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Um, we got Carol Hosa minus 345, ninth ranked bantamweight, fighting Lena Landsberg plus 285, 12th ranked bantamweight. And like, yeah, man. I mean, we're getting ranked fighters off the rip, jerking the
Right.
curtains, proof of a stacked card. Definitely no complaints on my end. It meaningful fight to a certain extent because bantamweight is needing like new juice. I mean, you think about the Nunez's and the Peñas of the world. I mean, the Chikagians of the world. I mean, I know she's at flyweight now, but she'll be missing weight. We'll get to that. But this is kind of same old, right? In the bantamweight division, and the Misha Tate experiment failed, and so it needs life. You know what I'm saying? So these ranked fights in the bantamweight division mean a lot because we're kind of searching for the new relevant names and faces in the bantamweight division.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that coming into this fight, I don't know if I liked Carol Hosa at minus 345, but I definitely disliked Lena Landsberg enough to justify that number, if that makes sense.
For sure, yeah, it wasn't no bet for me, just purely off value. I mean, I think like most people would have picked Hosa, but just minus 345 on a prelim fight against fighters that I'm not like ultra familiar with, too rich for my blood. Yeah, man, we'll get to round one. Started real good for Landsberg, I thought.
Hmm.
She got the knockdown, and then it was weird because like Carol Hosa got like the takedown reversal, but then did like absolutely nothing with it, no damage. I don't even think really any control time, but that was kind of her bright moment in the fight. But I'll give me that knockdown all day. Give me Landsberg 10-9.
Really? Yeah, that's fair. Here's my problem. I'm gonna like probably kind of
This
speak out of
is
both
gonna
sides.
rear its this is gonna rear its head later.
I
Like
know,
this
and I don't know if I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my neck if I do this, but I think I might have changed like over the times I've watched it, and like
Yeah, also tell them what you told me. You've watched the card 3 times, correct?
right, yeah, exactly. So I've watched it by myself today. I watched it the night of, like, or day of live, but I was on my phone and it was muted because I was with a bunch of people, so very distracted. And then I watched it again that night, but still with a person that I was talking to while I was watching it. So I don't know. I have kind of 3 different takes on it, I guess, that I kind of have come to like a conclusion on. And I think I'm not crazy on one of them. I might be. I really might be, but I think I got it.
All right, man. But what about I take it you scored round 1 for Carol Hossa.
I did. Yeah, I mean, I liked control, but at the time I was thinking, well, she's controlling her. Landsberg's not really getting any damage off from the bottom, even though Hossa's not really getting any damage off from the top. And Landsberg did win the damage in the first minute, a minute and a half. You know what I'm saying? And there wasn't much damage after that. So
yeah, that's what, like I don't know. Lena Landsberg got the knockdown, and it wasn't really fluky. I mean, she put a stiff punch on her, and then the rest of the round there wasn't really much damage for either girl. Fair enough, but and Carol Hossa definitely won the grappling, but that knockdown to me just was the most impactful thing.
Right, it kind of feels like a Dillashaw Sandhagen kind of a fight, right? Because it's all control versus damage in small time windows of time, right? I scored it 10-9 to Hossa. The more I watch it, honestly, the more I like Landsberg, to your credit. So, but originally I did score it 10-9. I'm going to go with original scores here, but then I'll explain some that I have shifted on entirely.
And then round 2, it's kind of some foreshadowing, or not even foreshadowing, just hearkening back to some other people on the main card. We had a Aljamain Peter Yan moment where Lisa Landsberg gets kneed while she's down. But that being said, Hossa won the round. She had 2 takedowns, but it was snoozy control, no damage. And Landsberg had no takedown defense whatsoever. So it ends up being a 9-9 round, I think, on most people's scorecard.
Yeah, and I think that round was pretty clear for the most part. Also, that knee was pretty close I mean, that's you can't even argue that, I know. But I'm just saying, I kind of get where she was at throwing it. Like, it wasn't like the dumbest knee throw you've ever seen. It was close to it.
Missed the timing, right?
If she had pulled her up just slightly before it, like Gegard Mousasi is known for doing that to people, where he'll just grab them and then like have them like in that position, and he says he does it on purpose. Like, he's openly talked about it, where he'll pull them up with like underhooks and then let him try to sit back down, and pretty much they sit into his knee before they connect with the ground. Yeah, I mean, great.
So smart. Yeah, work around the rules for sure.
Wish Carol Hossa was that smart.
Yeah, didn't see that technique.
So I have it 19-18 for Hossa after round 2.
And I have it 1918?
1918.
1918 for Landsberg for sure. And then so round and mind you, I don't believe it, no judge ends up one judge ends up agreeing with me. And then round 3 we finally saw some fucking damage from Carol Hossa, and it's like, where the fuck was this? I guess maybe saving the gas tank a little bit. I'm not sure. It's kind of an awkward fight up to that point, but finally saw some damage from Hossa, man. The clinch strike, and then she looked like Meatball Malley out there with the spinning elbows. Landed 2 in 1 round. Not easy to do. Definitely. I like Hossa 10-9 in round 3.
Yeah, she definitely kind of came alive in round 3. Which
which
surprised me.
Different.
Right.
It looked very different.
I didn't really understand it. I mean, it was great. I just don't know why she didn't do more of that the entirety of the fight. I mean, I think that's what Vegas thought would happen at a minus 345, right? Like, that's what the fight should have looked like, if you think about the number.
I'll play devil's advocate with myself, though, and be like, well, also, Lisa Landsberg couldn't stop a takedown to save her life, so why did Hossa just randomly decide to kind of bang it out in the 3rd round? It didn't make sense on a lot of fronts. No, it was way more entertaining to watch, and I'm glad she did decide, but even from a strategy standpoint, I mean, I'm not nitpicking because it totally worked. It worked very well, but you see what I'm saying? Like, Lisa Landsberg couldn't stop the takedown. Then why did she start with the takedowns? Just keeping her guessing, proving the well-roundedness? I don't know. I'm not trying to look at it glass half empty, because there's a lot of ways where you look at it glass half full. I just you can't say I necessarily understand the game plan.
Well, I guess maybe she just thought to herself that she was so dominant with the takedowns that maybe she could just try to get damage off on the feet, and then if it didn't work for her initially, boom, just go to the takedown. Like, I got it in the bag. Like, maybe open up my game here and see what I can get done. And it honestly helped her.
Good. Yeah, try to get it finished. I feel and I'm glad she did. Like I said, it was the most entertaining round of the fight by a mile. And yeah, man. So I end up with a 28-28 draw scorecard, and one judge agrees with it.
Yeah, you and David Letheby. One judge has it 29-27 like I do, Daryl Ransom. And then Ben Cartilage has it, 29-27. I could have sworn I read 30-27. I just couldn't read because I looked at the slash number. But yeah, so two judges 29-27. So a majority decision. Probably the right decision on this fight.
Yeah, I'm not even mad at that. That's like a perfect kind of summation because it's like one championship rules. Kara Hossa definitely won the fight. Like she got more damage off. Besides, with the exception of the knockdown in round one, which I said I did think was enough to give winner the round. However, I don't think it was enough to necessarily win her the fight. You know, she didn't do shit else literally the whole fight. The rest of the fight, she got dominated after that knockdown. Which kind of, I said it didn't seem fluky in the moment because, I mean, it landed clean, but when she wasn't able to replicate it, kind of looks a little fluky.
Yeah, that's almost exactly how I feel about it. But, man, we can keep it pushing to the flyweights next if you want.
Oh, for sure. Because, I mean, Muhammad Mokaev matters, man. Like
Huge prospect.
Huge prospect, you know, from Dagestan, but like raised in England.
Very young. What is he, 22?
22 years old, undefeated. I think there's like a no contest or something in there.
Yeah.
And then taking on Malcolm Gordon. Huge, massive money line on this one. Mokaev minus 1150, Gordon plus 750 in the men's flyweight division. And man, I think this is that last fight before he starts getting the ranked opponents. Now, granted, this fight is way closer and way tougher than the money line would indicate.
That's what I kept thinking to myself was like, man, someone missed on this money line because, I mean, not really, right? Because I think in the end, you know, Mokaev was never in too much of a threatening position across. Because I think we can go just explain the whole fight, right, up to the point of it ending. Because it all is the same for the most part, but it's like, it's a credit to Gordon that it's mostly the same.
Yeah, man, Gordon's defense was outstanding.
Both takedown defense and jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu defense was nuts. It was like really impressive. And I don't say that often. I mean, how often do I give a guy a compliment playing jiu-jitsu off his back? You know, I mean, it's usually the exact opposite. Usually we rip that apart.
I mean, he was getting dangerous with some submission attempts. I mean, Mokaev also did have one good triangle attempt as well. I will give him that.
And also just like was completely shut down Mokaev's offense, at least damage-wise. Not necessarily control-wise, but I mean, Mokaev really didn't get much damage off this whole fight. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was round one, 10-9 Mokaev, 2 takedowns, 4 minutes of control, but hardly any damage.
Hardly any damage because he was in such a battle for position because Malcolm Gordon was so active off his back and changing position and fighting guard and like controlling hands. I was impressed.
So impressive, exactly. And then round 2, I thought was very close, man. Like Gordon, it's like I almost wanted to give it
Me
to
too.
him, but
it was Mokaev's round, but Gordon put up such a fight, man. Like Mokaev he was struggling in that round. Like you could tell something in him in between round 2 and 3 where he was like, either I'm better than this or I'm like not as good as I think.
Exactly, man. Gordon was like, you know, like, hey, man, like, we're all good here. You know, it was like that moment, like that, like,
right.
You say, like, welcome to the NFL moment, like, welcome to the UFC moment. I mean, it's his 3rd or 4th fight, but still, like,
that'll happen to
everybody. Yeah, this was the first, like, really resistance he's met, you know, almost like Hamzat Gilbert Burns kind of moment to a lesser, very different style, but as far as just meeting resistance for the first time in the UFC.
Yeah.
And then, no damage really for Mokaev, man. And then in round 3, go ahead and tell us how he finished it off.
So in round 3, I mean, he gets into he was playing striking a little more than I thought he would too, to be quite honest. I mean, the whole fight, but even in round 3, he was trying to go for those finishes. I thought he would just immediately shoot the takedown and keep the whole fight on the ground, right? Because, I mean, he was having success getting him, but it was just like his energy level. But
yeah, I honestly thought, like you said, we've been talking about he wasn't able to get any damage off on the ground, though. So maybe, and, you know, against a good defense, maybe his best, you know, I would have honestly liked to see him strike more the whole fight. But he has a style and he stuck to his game plan. I respect it.
That's fair. I mean, he does end up getting into the arm bar, but I really am.
But Before the armbar, though, Gordon was on his back. He
Right.
reversed the position and took his back, which we've never seen Mokaev in that position.
Right.
To that credit, to his credit, we've never seen him get out of that position, and we saw something new, which is, like I said, when a guy's 22 years old, if a 36-year-old guy gets his back took, we're looking at that glass half, empty. But like a 22-year-old prospect able to get out of that position and survive adversity, like I'll go ahead and even chalk that up as a positive,
Yeah, and I mean, it seemed like he got it pretty tightly locked because Gordon's arm, I mean, he tapped fast whenever it was like locked out, and he was shaking his arm out like he actually got it cranked pretty hard.
Yeah, got the armbar, man. 4 minutes and 26 seconds into the third round.
Right.
As a minus 1150 favorite. I mean, Gordon, gave him all he could ask for. It was a tough night out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it was almost one of those things where if Gordon does go the entire distance, like the way we talk about this fight is super, super different. Not necessarily, but like it really is like in retrospect.
I honestly feel about the same as I would. Like Gordon gave like
Me too. Like I feel like he got the submission so late and after so much adversity that I mean I like that. I like that we got to see that.
And I wanted to see Mokaev win. Like I'm not a Mokaev hater, so it's like we saw the win, we saw him tested. Hell, we saw a hell of a performance out of Gordon. You know what I mean? All the tip of the cap. And this is another one where the UFC matchmakers come out smelling like roses. Because, like, I'll be real. I mean, I think you probably, when we saw this card on paper, were like, I don't really like why'd they make this fight. Like, what? Like, we wanted to see. We get impatient as fans wanting to see Mokaev against the big dogs. But come out. I mean, this was the exact fight to make in retrospect. Hindsight.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, it's crazy that the matchmaking was so good, but Vegas was so off. Like, that's rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It says UFC came out smelling like roses. We'll keep it pushing, man. We got, honestly, I was not a fan of this fight.
I hated this fight. I hated this fight.
Pretty snoozy.
Yeah.
This was also, I mean, on a super stat card, this was the fight that I was probably looking forward to the least. If I'm being honest.
I'm not a big Petrosian guy.
I'm definitely not a big Dobson guy. We got Armin Petrosian minus 200 taking on AJ Dobson plus 170 in the middleweight division. And what had potential to be a banger ended up being a snoozer. We had two big athletic middleweight strikers in there and got very little violence.
Right. They both were like way too respectful of each other's distance. They were just playing around, it felt like, instead of, I mean, granted, there were some good shots landed, and Petrosian does have a pretty good striking game, but I kept thinking to myself, like, why doesn't Dobson try to press that inside game more?
Yeah, because in the round one, Dobson was able to get takedowns, but had zero control.
Right.
Which is weird. I mean, it was kind of a weird combination. I mean, he was getting the takedowns like pretty easily against a kickboxer, which makes sense, but I had zero jiu-jitsu to keep
couldn't hold him down. Like, I mean, literally couldn't hold him down for even like 5, 6, 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it was like immediately back up.
Like, how do you have two takedowns in like 3 seconds of control? Like, that's like, but, so I gave round one to Petrosian. I thought it was the closest round of the fight.
Totally agree. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Just Dobson would not throw. And DC was talking about it the whole fucking fight, about how Dobson's like head movement and striking defense was on point, which is true. Because he went 3 rounds with a kickboxer and came out unscathed pretty much. But just, because he was defending and getting his head out of the way and glancing blows and partial blocks and all that. He was taking very little damage, but he fired nothing. And I mean, hardly anything back at Petrosian. Like, Petrosian was in zero danger.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was really the narrative of the fight, was that Petrosian just kind of got to throw his combos as he pleased, aside from the takedowns that Dobson would get. But the takedowns weren't really worth anything except a waste of energy for Dobson almost every time, because he couldn't have any control.
Yeah, zero payoff for the work and expended energy for sure. Round two, Petrosian kind of, tweaks his knee, it looks like. I mean, none of us are doctors.
He was stepping weird on it for at least 90 seconds, at least.
And it was really weird. It looked like he took a little bad step. And I mean, we've both played sports. Like, it's those non-contact injuries that are the scariest ones.
Those are the worst usually, because it's like a rupture usually, not like done by force.
And so it looks bad, man. But I mean, to Petrosian's credit, not only does he get through the round, he wins the round. still throwing kicks with that leg, and defended. Did it? Honestly, probably like the best I've seen somebody handle a knee injury since goddamn Emmett. I've always bring up Josh Emmett or Dillashaw. Yeah, very reminded you of that. Gangster didn't even mention it to his corner, which blew my mind. I thought he would at least be like, I'm good. Like, ddidn't even acted like it didn't even happen. So
right, Gangster, yeah, it was just like, what's good for round 3?
Dog, right? Dog. Petrosian's a dog. This fight. And then he comes out and keeps throwing kicks to win the fight. So interesting stat. We're not a very stat heavy show, but like I couldn't help but bring this to the table. Petrosian threw 100 more strikes than Dobson did, and it's one of those things where you're watching this and like you anecdotally bro science be like, damn, it seems like Petrosian's outstruck him by 100.
It's like, no, he really did.
You really did. Like, your eyes did not lie to you.
That's why I'm confused why Dobson didn't try to play in that close range more to threaten grappling control, to at least like press him and not let him just fire off combos. Because 246 significant strikes thrown in 15 minutes. That's a crazy rate, bro.
Well, and it's like, so Dobson at first, you're thinking, oh, you're gun shy, you're kind of like scared to get hurt against the high level striker or whatever, and then. But after 2 rounds of like, okay, I can take this guy's shit. Like, he wasn't getting rocked, hurt, wobbled, anything close to that, Dobson. So it's like, you would have liked to see like, test the chin a little bit, just be willing to engage.
Go for it. You know what I mean?
You're taking some of his shots, like you're all right, like.
And when you're standing at range and bouncing back and forth with him, he's obviously ripping combos, and you're throwing like 1 or 2 counter shots, so it's not gonna be good for you. Like, you need to get in that range.
Yeah, I would have loved to see Dobson kind of go for it more. He played it way too safe. Made for a snoozy fight. Petrosian gets to 30-27. I agree with it. Dobson just did not do. I would say didn't do enough, but he didn't do anything. If you want to, credit those no control time takedowns and knock yourself out, he didn't do.
I didn't credit those takedowns hardly at all. That's why, I forgot to mention them when I initially introduced the round, but it's because they were worth nothing.
No, nothing at all. So yeah, man, we'll keep it pushing to another snoozer. In all fairness, because we got Abubakar.
Abubakar.
Like I said, Abubakar, and then we got minus 155. Taking on Omar Gadzhiev.
Hey, nailed that one.
I got this, man. And then plus 135, fighting the welterweight division. This was a weird fight. It is a matchup that I wish they would do more, though, and I know why, because Omar Gadzhiev is Dagestan, but he trains out of France. And
oh yeah, that's right.
So I think that's why, because a lot of the Dagestani guys won't fight each other, which annoys me. Because like, imagine if like Americans did that, or literally any other country, like just what the fuck?
Yeah, Brazilians wouldn't fight Brazilians, like that would suck.
Like what do you? Yeah, so I don't know. I don't like how they don't be making that doing the matchmaking there. Anyway, so it's not what I'm getting at is here. It's not terribly often we get to see this Dagestan on Dagestan matchup, because
Dagestan on Dagestan violence, you love to see it.
Yeah, because usually we see one style kind of overtaking another style, but it's very rare that we get to see like the styles, like how does that style look against somebody else with that style? I don't know. We don't get to see it too often. I don't know. I was interested for about until the fight started, and then I was like, oh, this is why we don't see it that often, because it was not entertaining to watch.
Yeah, not the greatest. Now, I will say there were some cool wrestling counters they used, like the rolls off the back, then like throws with the feet to get out of a takedown. Like, there were some cool things, and there were some nice reversals, and but the only problem was they were both so good at the exact same thing, they kind of came at each other the same way, and just negated each other's skills. Now, sometimes you see that happen, like Covington Usman, and they just strike it out, and it's awesome. Yeah. That was not what we got here.
No, and then like Omar Gadzhiev kept trying to like jump guillotine on. It's like, bro, you're from Dagestan. You should know that jumping guillotine on a Dagestani isn't gonna work. Like what? Whenever.
When have we ever seen it? Yeah.
Spoiler alert: the Dagestan from Dagestan out wrestled the Dagestani from France. Like, oh, shocker there. The guy that got out wrestled. Like,
Yeah, Bubakar was winning most of the scrambling positions.
Bukabar was killing it.
Bukabar.
He was well, it's like that's what was frustrating because it's not like he was getting these dope takedowns. Like Omar Gadzhiev would like jump Gilly, like he jumped Gilly in the first and second round and then stayed on his ass.
They only officially credit him with 1 takedown out of 4 attempts for Nurmagomedov.
Because he was like pulling guards. It's like, bro, like as soon as he did that, I was like, well, I don't even need to watch the rest of this. He's jumping guillotine like and just sitting on his ass. Like it's not gonna work.
Nurmagomedov. Yeah. I mean, the closest round was the first.
Well, and we got to touch on the second round. There was the illegal knee to Omar
in which the
Gadzhiev.
point was not taken like it was in the first fight.
It was the same ref. It made 0 sense. That was the same ref, bro.
Well, I think it was the reaction of the fighters because immediately he knees him and then he looks at me. He's like, they high five, like it's all good. And I was like, you gotta sell it. You gotta sell it because the ref is supposed to judge impact. And so immediately he's like, well, you're not super fucked up, and you just were like, it's cool. But I mean, that was a hard knee to the face. Like, dude's just tough.
It was a hard knee to the face. Yeah, exactly. I thought it should have been
a point.
I thought it should have been a point. Like, I don't know. It's like, imagine if other sports did that, but like.
Which would greatly affect this fight, by the way, in scoring outcomes.
Oh, 100%. Like, imagine in basketball, you foul a guy, but the ref's like, you weren't going to make it. Like,
or if it's like Shaq and you hack him, like, down low, but the ref's like, well, he's huge, so, like, you know, you have to hit him harder. It's like, well, it's still a foul. Like.
Yeah, no, I guess that's probably a better example of it. It does happen in other sports, but yeah, man, I thought it was a point deduction, like 10.
I mean, LeBron cries about that. He says, because I'm a bigger guy, I get less calls, and I'm like, well, all right, well, you get the most calls. But he does literally say stuff like that.
Yeah, you want to go shoot 70% from free throws again, Braun? Anyway, so. I mean, I actually scored this 30-27.
I did as well. I had Abubakar winning, Bukabar winning the first round 10-9. I thought he had enough control, and the damage wasn't crazy different.
Yeah, what did they I guess they gave Omar Gadzhiev round 1 for jumping shitty guillotine?
Yes, yeah, two judges. I don't see it.
Like, I don't see it. I mean, it's not like neither guy got any damage off. So then you default to who won the wrestling match. They should have been wearing singlets. And
no shit.
And Abukabar won the wrestling match. So, like, what are we talking about here? But, I mean, either way, I'm not throwing out a bridge for 29-28. But I really don't see how Omar Gadzhiev won a round here. I really don't. Like, what did he accomplish? Like, not worth really talking about, not really worth dying on a hill. You saw round 1. You can kind of see it. I can't see it.
Well, either way, I think the big takeaway here is if that point is taken, 2 judges would score this 28-28, 1 judge would score it 29-27 like we would have it, which would actually give you a majority draw. So a very different outcome if that point is taken.
Yeah, you're right. Not on my scorecards, but in reality.
Right.
For sure. I think the right man won. Also, like, am I clamoring to watch an Abukabar fight anytime soon? No, sir. I mean, especially in the welterweight division, man. Like, there's so many exciting options. That I just can't put Abukabar in the conversation, and we can keep it pushing for that reason.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I'll let you introduce it because you've crushed the names twice, and I actually struggle with this guy's not Oezdemir, but I struggle with Nikita's last name bad because they say it 4 different ways, and I don't know what it is.
I'll show you how I'm going to say it. We got Volkan Oezdemir, number 8th ranked light heavy, coming in at plus 155 dog. Taking on NIkita Krylov, minus 180. Favorite, the 10th ranked light heavyweight. And, man, this was an interesting matchup because, I mean, these are guys that have both looked real good as of late.
We called this, though, coming off the last fight card they were on, that it just made sense.
It made sense for sure. There's a pretty quick turnaround, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to say you're right. It was when Oezdemir fought Paul Craig, and I say Krylov as well. Some people say Krylov or Krylov. Krylov. Yeah. I say Krylov.
I think Krylov. That works for me. Yeah, for sure. And then, when we predicted this matchmaking, the matchmaking made sense in the rankings, the fight timelines, the matchup is dope. I mean, we got
this fight was dope too.
Striking heavy. And round 1 was a war. Wasted no time.
They went straight up to war in the first 90 seconds. Like, for the first 90 seconds, they were just back and forth. Krylov was kind of getting pieced up, too.
Oh yeah, and then after back-to-back snoozers, I needed it.
Yeah.
I was off like 4 hours of sleep. It was like 8 in the morning on the.
Oh, yeah,
West
your
Coast.
time when it started was early.
Like I was like I can't. I was like literally gonna go to sleep if we had some more Abuka bar action, and like I was like, and so we needed a banger. We got a banger.
You
Shout
knew
out
this
to
would be a
both
banger.
teams. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was a fun one on paper, and it was a fun one to watch. I mean, they each hurt each other on the feet in round one. However, Krylov, had 2 takedowns and took Oezdemir's back at the very end. So, I mean, I thought Krylov won it, but it was a war. I mean, each man had a chin. Each man got a lot of damage off. I just think, like, the striking was pretty much canceled each other out, and Krylov won the wrestling and grappling. So, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I think if Krylov hadn't hurt Oezdemir as much as he did, like if it had just been a more accumulation of strikes and takedowns, and he hadn't actually like hurt him, then I would give it to Oezdemir. But because they both hurt each other, and Krylov got the takedowns and the back, I saw it for Krylov as well. I thought he just did enough by the end of the round. Close round, 100%. Good round, super fun round.
And also, man, I mean, Krylov looked so versatile, so well-rounded, so dangerous, like in many different positions.
Also, his back tap was crazy.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He didn't used to have that last fight, did he?
It looked new to me.
It looked really new.
A lot of work to get.
Yeah, that was a ton, bro. It was like a whole back piece shaded in the entire place. Like,
I was like, is that Sean Brady?
Right, yeah. But speaking of Sean Brady, he wins the tat competition, bro. His are so nice.
They're so good.
They pop. Like, they literally pop off of his skin. It's like, if you put him in, like, Ink Magazine, he could, there's some of his tattoos would take pictures of for sure.
I see them cheeks in Ink Magazine. And they keeping it pushing, man. I mean, the rest of the fight's not as competitive as round one. I think Oezdemir pretty much just, let his nuts hang in round one. Like, I'm going to win it in the first 90 seconds, or I'm not going to win it at all.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, credit, because that takes nuts to do. Every fighter will tell you that, like, they fear gassing more than they fear getting beat up.
And he didn't necessarily gas, but it was just that he didn't have it near enough.
I think he shot his load, like, even if it wasn't a physical gas tank shot his load, just from like a game plan.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is like he was just like, oh well, that plan didn't work. Like fuck, now I just gotta fight it out, and I'm already like under my energy level I'd like to be at. So here we go. Meanwhile, Krylov did a good job of like maintaining his energy level throughout the fight. Like I thought he kept putting it on mostly through the end of the third.
And I thought Krylov was just the smarter fighter, the better game plan, more well-rounded. Because the rest of the fight, he pretty much has a takedown heavy approach after the war of round one. Pretty smart,
Right.
And as fans, we still got to have some fun, kind of best of both worlds.
And because he wasn't missing on a lot of attempts, he's saving a lot of that energy that would be wasted. You know what I mean? So like, and being on top is always easier than being on bottom as far as energy wise. So that's why I think Krylov did a good job of maintaining throughout the end of the fight.
And it wasn't like it was snoozy. Like, I mean, there were still some exchanges on the feet.
Oh,
I think Krylov was winning those exchanges, especially in round 3.
I thought his kicks were way better too, man. Like throughout the fight.
Cracked some stiff shots in round 3 that really were pretty impactful too. So I mean, we saw best of both worlds. I mean, we saw the fight IQ from Krylov, but we still got action. We still got damage. I had a 30-27 Krylov.
I did as well. 2 judges had it the first round going to Oezdemir. Anders Olsen and Vito.
Judges are weird.
Huh?
We should have these Abu Dhabi judges are weird, man. We should have seen the foreshadowing because we're disagreeing with them a lot. No, we're not disagreeing on winners and losers to this point, but we've been off by a point pretty consistently.
I think
every single fight.
And this surprised me, man. They were scoring damage heavily last night in Abu Dhabi. Heavily.
They were, which usually,
I'm just not used to it. I kind of like it.
Usually I'm for, but it is MMA, and it's like, I mean, everything else matters just as much. That's what I'm saying. It's not like damage doesn't matter, but I mean, winning positions and I don't know. It's going to be a theme of the night for sure, and we can't wait to get into it. We'll save it probably mainly for the main card breakdown. But you're right. It is going to be a point of emphasis, as they say in the NFL. But yeah, Krylov gets the unanimous decision. Looked fantastic. Don't want to spend a ton of time on it. But you like bringing up the light heavyweight rankings real quick?
Yeah, I got him right here. So I was thinking, he's going to take Oezdemir's ranking of 8. Above that is pretty much the killers of lightweight, man. I mean, you have Dominic Reyes at 7, you have Jamal Hill at 6, you have Anthony Smith at 5, Rakic at 4, Ankalaev at 3, Blachowicz at 2, Glover at 1, and Yuri is the champ.
You could do the Smith fight because
I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
fun stylistically too, because obviously Krylov is better wrestling than we gave him credit for.
Yeah, and also like Smith's not in the position to like
say no,
ask any favors or say no, or so I could see the Smith fight. I could see the Reyes fight. I can't say I'd be like over the moon about any of them, but
they're fun matchups. They could be fight nights.
The main event fight nights?
Yeah, honestly. Krylov off 2 ranked opponent wins, getting probably a top 5 guy. Maybe. I mean, Reyes has a good name. Hill has a good name. They want to build him. They won't do Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, I was going to throw out Hill because as a fan, I think that'd be the funnest fight to watch. That'd be a banger.
Yeah, but the UFC wants to build those guys because they both are kind of on the come up. Let them run through the old guys.
And I'm a Hill fan, so I don't want Hill to have to fight back. Like, I want to see good, big things happen for Hill. So,
and the top 4 is kind of a tier away, right? Like, maybe Rakic is close, but everyone else is kind of a different, like, they're B tier to the A tier.
100% agree. 100% agree, yeah. But, yeah, on that note, I mean, Krylov, he's working his way up the ranks. He said probably earned himself a top 5 matchup, and then from there, anything can happen. So, good on Krylov. Looked like a fucking stud. Very fun fight. Did that get fight of the night? No.
No. You know what got fight of the night.
We didn't get any bonuses yet.
I do not believe so. Let me check. I have them right here. No, we do not. No, we do have one bonus on the prelims. We've not gotten to it yet.
I know it's going to be for sure. And then up next, we got Mahmoud Muradov plus 180 fighting Caio Borralho minus 210, fighting the middleweight division. And, man, people talk about, I don't know, bro. People want to talk about Mokaev getting a push or Sean O'Malley getting a push.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Caio Borralho gets the biggest push I've ever seen, and I honestly hate him for it. Like, I don't even like him. There's something about him that is unlikable. Like, he's a way better villain than a hero, for sure.
For sure, man. I feel the same way. I mean, I think because his debut was a co-main, right? And we've been salty about it ever since. And, like, I'm not saying this was a big, card placement, but they made sure they got him on the big pay-per-view of the year. Like, they're really doing this guy favors. And, I mean, they matched him up with striker after striker, and he's like a jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, I'm not saying they're giving him easy matchups, but they're giving him, like, matchups.
He is a very good wrestler. I will give him that. His takedowns are very good.
They are good. Oh, and I'm not saying he's a bad fighter. He may end up being worth the push when it's all said and done because he keeps winning. But I don't know. I think it's a little underdeserved or like out of all guys to push. I don't know if I'd pick this guy. Obviously, the UFC is good at their job, and we'll see how this plays out in the end. But yeah, we both see that, and we both feel pretty strongly about it for sure.
It seems like, as well. I mean, they alluded to it in the while they were talking about the fight. I think in the second rounds when they bring it up. But apparently, he's trained with like a bunch of killers. Like, been flown out as like a training partner for them in their camps and stuff. So, I mean, maybe that's another thing the UFC's considered. Like, they probably are like, oh, well, you've been a training partner with this guy. Like, I know Paulo Costa is one of them. Glover's trained with him. Shemaev's trained with him.
Sweden. Yeah, man.
So he's trained with a lot of killers, which speaks highly of his ability, I guess, or like what he is so good at, right? Because usually you bring in a guy with specialties. Well, I think his specialty is like offensive jiu-jitsu for the most part, because he's able to get the takedowns and then try to work to switch to your back.
Which is a dope style, because we talk about all the jiu-jitsu guys. Like, what good does it do? Like Mackenzie Dern,
right?
A lot of these guys. What good does it do if you can't get it to the ground, or if you're pulling guard, or So I mean, a top flight jiu-jitsu guy who you said is offensive with it and is able to get it to the ground. Pretty dope style, to be honest. We hate it a little bit, but we got to give credit where credit's due.
Right. And, I mean, he did show that pretty much immediately from the start of the fight, right? Like, kind of stood up and striked with Muradov for a little bit, but essentially his takedown game was strong, even against a guy like Muradov, who's supposed to be a good grappler.
Yeah, man. I mean, the takedown it was really impressive. Got immediately to full mount. Like, I
Right.
mean, that's where you see that next level that like makes him different from some of the other guys. And the ground and pound with it, right? Wasn't snoozy at all. Was fucking cool. So like everything that we usually criticize jiu-jitsu fighters for, he doesn't do.
Right, he's
It's honestly
offensive
kind of
with his
cool.
jiu-jitsu, which I really
Yeah.
like about him. I liked him a lot more after this fight than I have versus all the rest of them, to be quite honest.
I'm starting to see it, right? You're starting to see what the UFC kind of wanted us to see, which is cool. Also, those up kicks were pretty goddamn nasty
I mean,
too.
yeah, man.
Now Muradov did get some ground and pound off and got on top a little bit himself. It was towards the end of the round, kind of too little, too late. And also, fuck Muradov and fuck the Abu Dhabi refs and judges because I mean, there's literally like 9,000 warnings
For eyes,
eye
for
poke,
eye poke, like,
grab
well,
his
apparently he
hand.
got fish hooked at the end of that round, is what he was saying,
Yeah, I didn't see that. I did see him poke Baralho in the eyes 5, 6, 7,
and
8,
grabbed the
9
fence a
times,
whole bunch too.
and grabbed the fence a whole bunch. Like there was, and the ref. It's not like the ref wasn't seeing it. The ref was seeing it. And
The
he was
ref literally
warning.
paused the fight and told him, "You get no more warnings. I will take a point if you do these small infractions again." Hey, that's when you just take the point.
Well, then did he proceed to give him more warnings? I'm pretty
Yeah, in
goddamn
the
sure.
second round, he
Yeah.
gave him more warnings.
Yeah, dude, it was whack. It was like annoying to watch. And like I said, if I'm like arguing for Baralho, but yeah, and then round two, I mean, I actually give to Muradov 10-9 that I had 2.5 minutes of top control. I thought Baralho, was on his back a little bit too much. Am I still coming through?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. I got a little notification kind of saying something about my internet. Let me know if I'm breaking up. But and then but Muradov, very little damage. I mean, he spent half the round on top and got no damage off. So I did give round two to Muradov, but he didn't do much with it. I think Baralho honestly kind of pulled an Aljamain Sterling and took a round off. I honestly think he kind of did.
I kind of saw that too, right? Like, was just way too happy to be on his back. Like, it didn't make sense that he would just be like so down to lay there and just like play the jiu-jitsu game when he had been so good at being the offensive grappler, being on top and getting his ground and pound off. Like, he should have fought back to get to his feet so he could get to the offensive position there or reverse the position. Like, he seemed really just happy to like kind of hunt on trying to get some sort of slick leg lock, maybe with like a transition underneath. Was that the round he did have the half guard reversal?
Ooh, maybe that's how he got up because
I'm pretty sure
he
it was
spend
pretty.
the
That
whole
was
round on
it was
his
a pretty
back.
sweet escape.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it wasn't a dominant round for Muradov. It just wasn't Baralho's best round. I think he honestly kind of took it off. Like that's kind of what I saw. And then round three, Baralho gets back to being on top. He was like,
Right.
oh, I had a lot, which credit to him. I tried top, I tried bottom. I did
Top's
much
where it was
better on
working,
top.
and it worked well in the third.
It looked very much like round one, which kind of points that he took round two off because anytime he wanted to be on top, he could pretty much get there.
That's what I mean. Whenever he could get to the top position, he was so much better.
And I mean, like I said, pretty active. Got some ground and pound off. It wasn't snoozy. He wasn't laying there. He wasn't.
He probably got more damage off on top position than he did standing on the feet even.
Oh, 100%. I
So
agree.
it's like
yeah.
that was his most damaging position, so he needed to work to get there.
Yeah, that's pretty much the last box we haven't really seen Baralho check is like somebody that can stuff his takedowns, and like what does that stand up really look like? You know what I mean? Because we've seen him fight strikers, but then he's like fighting them on the ground. So it's like that question still hasn't really been answered to me because we haven't seen him fight somebody that can stuff a takedown really.
Right. Yeah. Entirely. Then that's going to be his next test, right? Like they're going to probably push him towards the rankings. But I don't think he's going to get a ranked guy next, but he's going to get someone that's like pretty dangerous and is on the edge of the rankings themselves.
For sure. And then once again, I'm with the minority judges. So I have a 29-28. Do you have a 29-28?
Yeah, I do as well. Just because I thought Brady didn't really do much in the second.
Round two, exactly. And then these fucking judges, 30-27. Like I said, we've been like one. It said it's going to rear its ugly head.
You kind of
You
broke
there?
up. You kind of broke up there. What were you saying?
Okay, I think I'm back. Yeah, I'm just saying the whole night I was seeing these fights like a point off from the judges, and it was just very apparent to me that the judges and me were seeing these fights very differently and scoring them very differently because I was like 1 point off all night.
Right. I feel that too, and a lot of the times we've agreed with the Vegas judge and not the Abu Dhabi judges. So
Which
that's
I,
already
I
shows you
think
something.
I agree, man. And then now, I mean, let's get to it because this is probably, and we're the podcast that does the prelims. We're the podcast that does every single breakdown of every single fight on every single card. So take it from us when we say this. Best prelim fight of the Beefy Boy era. And I'm not talking about hindsight, like Holloway McGregor.
Very
like,
likely true.
Go on to great things. Like this is debatably a number one contenders fight. I know, not really, but pretty goddamn
Edge
close.
of it, like you're gonna be in the next matchup to see if you fight for it.
Semi-final match, right?
Right, semi-final match, yeah, and it's the
and,
prelim main event, which is sick.
And Belal Muhammad's a 3-time main eventer. Sean Brady's 15-0, same record as like Rachmanov and Shemaev and all these other guys. I mean,
and dominant too. Like when you watch him, he's pretty fucking dominant.
Yeah, yes, I love watching. I mean, and so. Yeah, the fact that we got this on the prelims, the fact that some kid out there got to watch this for free, I'm super hyped on. I think it's great for the sport. I really do. Getting this type of fight for free on ESPN. I mean, ranked guys. I mean, entertaining guys with personalities, guys that look cool. I mean, they're so marketable, both of them. I mean, I'll say, we're prelims McGee, and this is probably the best prelim fight ever. Like, real talk. At least in the Beefy Boy era.
Yeah, I'd love to see a list of them because I know there's been some extreme bangers, but this has to be at least top 3.
Like, there's been extreme bangers, right? Like, there's been amazing fights, but maybe between like unranked guys, and there's been guys that are like on the prelims, like the first time we watched Shemaev, and then goes on to great things.
Well, I'm trying to think about like UFC like 200, like those kinds of days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Beefy Boy's era. Because, I think we started Beefy Boy around 250, if I'm not mistaken.
That's or
249.
240, I think, because 245 was the 3 champion card.
Okay, yeah, somewhere around. So,
might have even been like 230.
Maybe. But
because 230 is the original, like, Figueiredo Moreno card.
Oh, okay. For sure. And then, but yeah, I don't know. Regardless, even if it's not the best, I mean, what a treat. What a goddamn treat.
Yeah, no joke, man. I mean, it's number 5, Belal Muhammad. I forgot to write down the odds here because I just got too juiced. Plus 125 for him?
Plus 120, yep.
Plus 120, and then Sean Brady, number 8, minus 140?
Yep, minus 140, yep. 15-0. Belal Muhammad's top 5. Welterweight. I mean, like I said, this is, in our views, this is a semifinal match.
Did you feel like these odds might have been swapped? Like maybe Belal should have been considered the better fighter?
Well,
he's fought better guys. That's for sure.
We both bet Brady, so we can't really say.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah, I mean, we both bet Brady. We both loved Brady. I mean, this was like our essentially pick of the week.
I put 55 on it.
I was just going as far as to say value at minus 140. So no, I can't. I don't want to be a hypocrite and be like Belal should have been the favorite. Now hindsight 2020, we'll get to it break it down. But no, going into it, if anything, I thought that it should have been bigger. I thought Brady should have been like minus 180. If I'm being completely honest.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I probably thought minus 150 was about where I was at with it. Sorry, there's a fly on my ear, but just flew into my eye. But yeah, I mean, I can see where you're at with that. And also, it was more of a thing of like, did you believe Sean Brady was going to be able to make his wrestling come through? Like, was it strong enough to where like he was just going to buzzsaw through Belal's defense and be able to control the fight? Because I did think Belal would probably be better on the feet.
See, I thought Sean Brady was going to be such a better athlete. That I thought like technique-wise and all that it was going to be pretty even. And even the styles are pretty like similar styles.
Well, they both like to come forward.
And I thought that Brady was gonna just like every time we've seen Brady grab somebody, I mean, it just looks different. Like the
strength. Right, he's able to get to the body lock or lock his hands and get to the double leg like finish. Like he's just strong.
And Bilal's a lot of things, but he's not massive, and he's a strong guy, but I don't think he's like a plus athlete. I mean, I think he's a damn good athlete, and I think he's big enough, right? But he's not one of these super ultra massive welterweights, and he's also not like, I don't think, some kind of freak show athlete. I think he's like B plus at both, right?
Yeah, that's what
Pretty
it seems
big,
like.
like not massive, but I mean he's not small for the weight class, and then also like he's a strong guy, but there's probably like, I mean, he's not going to win any like combines, right? Like I think if him and
Yeah.
Sean Brady are like doing like a combine, Sean Brady looks a lot more explosive and
Probably better
athletic
vertical leap, stuff like
can
that.
probably get more reps on the bench press. Now I know all these things don't really matter, but I thought everything else was going to be so kind of close, and the stylistic matchup was so kind of similar
That the athleticism would prevail.
Yes, and just like, yeah, he's fresher, hungrier, you could say. I thought all those little things kind of were in Sean Brady's favor. But I mean, Bilal's a fucking dog. Also, I think he needs to. I'll break up. I'm back.
Yeah. We lost you. Also, Belal.
Yeah, my fucking internet connection. This sucks. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But yeah, just he went out and trained with Khabib and the boys, and I think he needs to keep training with Khabib and the boys and get the fuck out of Chicago because he looked so much better.
It looked great, honestly, right? Like his takedown defense was A1. Sean Brady was 0 of 5 on his attempts throughout the fight. Never could get Belal taken down, which was a huge part of it. Huge part of it.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. And then Belal's hands looked really sharp too. Like he was piecing Brady up. Now, granted, Brady was landing some good shots in the first round. First round was like.
First round was close, man.
First round was close, right? Exactly. Like it was a war in the first round.
I gave round one to Sean Brady.
I gave it to Belal, but I was kind of crediting the takedown defense.
Yeah, so
because I thought the striking was damn near even.
And Belal had the ring control and the pressure, he was moving forward.
That's what surprised me.
When Sean Brady was cracking Belal, now Belal has a granite chin, and it was on full
apparently.
Display. But Brady was, I thought, landing the harder, cleaner shots, and like Belal ate him so well that it's hard to throw the word damage out there. I don't have the word damage in my notes, but I do have the word harder punches in my notes. Like I know it's a pretty kind of simpleton take, and it was a very close round. I'm not going to die on the heels. I'd have zero problem with giving Belal round one. I just I liked Brady's work in round one. I was struggling with the pressure though. Belal's pressure was so effective and had Sean Brady moving backwards that it was very close. I could totally see giving it to Belal.
Right, yeah, close round. Like it was a super fun round too.
Fun,
like,
yeah, awesome.
Like
exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, damn, this fight is a heater.
Yeah, I was like living up to the hype.
And then honestly, round two was still a heater. Right?
Oh,
like,
totally.
It's still Sean Brady not being able to get the takedown. Belal's takedown defense looking good, but Belal's confidence was like growing as the fight went on. Like he was starting to pressure Brady harder and harder, I felt like.
Yes, and Brady...
He was starting to read the counters too and dodge them. And that's where he started to hit Brady hard, was when he started to read where he was going to counter at.
You could see Brady like taking inventory. You could see Brady being like, "Oh, like I've never really been in a fight like this before."
Right. Like this guy's got strikes, and I can't take him down.
Like you could kind of see like the oh shit, kind of like the alarms were going off in Brady's. And like midway through round two, you could see Brady being like, "Damn, this isn't going great." You know what I mean? Like,
granted, Brady has a pretty granite chin himself.
Oh, they were cracking each other. Well, to the extent that. And I don't even know if this is a hot take. Let's fucking get to the elephant in the room.
Early stoppage?
Early stoppage is fun.
Yeah, okay. I thought let it play out. Let him get to the corner. It's 12 seconds left.
Ooh, I forgot there was only 12 seconds.
12 seconds left.
Even worse. He 100% makes it to 12 seconds.
I agree.
100%.
Or he didn't even get knocked down. Like, let him get knocked down.
He didn't get knocked down. No, I had a buddy over that I work with.
Out on the feet. I know it. But let him get dropped. They're in a war.
He wasn't out on the feet.
I know. I thought he was pretty coherent. He just wasn't. He just wasn't throwing back.
Like if that's a knockout, then Rob Tank gets knocked out every fight he's ever had. Like he was getting teed off on, but like where in the rule book does it say you can't eat like shots? Like it was like if you're eating the shots.
Right, if you're not getting hurt, like, you know what I mean? If you're hurt, you'll go down. Or at least hit the fence. He wasn't even on the fence. He was literally just on his feet back and forth.
bro, like not only was it not a knockout, I wouldn't even have had the word like wobbled in my notes. Like if I'm like
he one of those shots wobbled him because his legs kind of did one of those.
Yeah, all right, but the rest of them didn't though. Like he
right.
was like, no, I'll say this.
The last one he ate with like 12 seconds, he got pressed to the fence, and I think he was about to slide down. I mean, I could have seen a stoppage in 6 or 7 or 8 more seconds, but maybe he grabs a leg right there and rides out the 12 seconds.
Saying. Clinches it up. I mean, there was like a weird lack of defense that I didn't love. Now let me be like.
I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt as an undefeated number 8 fighter in
like
the prelim.
If you're using the letter of the law as far as like intelligent defense, I guess I don't think there is anything in there saying that like it can't be on the feet. Like eating shots, not defending them, standing up. I think that's kind of like
and not punching back.
There was 0 offense and 0 intelligent defense. His hands were literally down, and he was eating a lot of.
I guess I just like his chin so much that I just want to see the round play out.
But that's what I'm saying. Not everybody's chin's created equal. Like there are guys, and like the body language. I mean, it wasn't great, but he wasn't like a show. He wasn't showing up. He wasn't quitting. He wasn't. I mean, even like really, like he wasn't like bleeding a lot. He wasn't like it wasn't like his nose was like teeth getting knocked out. Like, there wasn't like so much damage that like you had to save him. Like I don't know. Like
well, think about the Matt Schnell fight. Think about how many more times he got rocked on the feet. Granted, he was throwing back, but like that wasn't a stoppage, and he was literally like getting rocked for 45 seconds.
I mean, any Darren Elkins fight ever. I mean, the Onama Landwehr fight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's countless examples. I mean, a lot. I mean, any Shane Burgos fight ever. Like, there's, like, I mean, I'm serious.
Emmett Burgos is the best example.
Calvin Kattar?
Oh,
what?
Max Holloway against Dustin Poirier?
Bro, like, it's just. There's no precedent for it. So with 12 seconds left, you gotta factor that in, like whether it's an unwritten rule or not. Like I don't know, that's not on paper. Like if it's 12 seconds, let it go. But come on, it matters. It's just like NBA playoffs, final 2 minutes. Like you're getting away with a little more. You know, it's not in the rule book, but like what are we doing here?
It's NFL in the last 2 minutes usually is a little bit more contact.
Like what are we doing here? It was a big fight. And that's the thing. This is coming from a guy who had Brady. I had it 1 round apiece. Now, that might have been a 10-8 round even. Cool. Fair game.
Yeah, probably is. Probably
is. Cool. We've seen guys recover in between rounds from way worse than that. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm kind of laying out both arguments. It didn't look great. Body language wasn't looking great. They said maybe that fight ends in 5 more seconds and he does slide down the cage and he eats some big ground and pound. But, man, I don't know. I didn't love the stoppage. Didn't love it. And I guess we got to leave it at that. But, I mean, I am super happy for Belal Muhammad, and I want to get to, like, what's next for him, what he deserves, you know. Also, I thought it was dope. Belal knocks him out, or does he? But gets the fight is stopped. He jumps up on the
talking
cage.
that shit to Paulie.
Yeah, Philly sucks to Paulie, which Paul actually got salty.
Yeah, he was like low-key real salty.
Oh, he was salty.
Bro, when I rewatched it by myself today, I had the volume up. He puts the headphones down, you can hear him in the back go, "Hey, Belal." Like, he went up and went to go talk to him.
And he was saying, "I'm going to have to come out of retirement and kick this guy's ass." I think he literally said kick his ass or do something to his ass.
He said,
he was salty.
No, he said, "Man, I'm going to have to drag my ass out of retirement to come fight this guy."
Oh, yeah, man. He was saying, like, not in like a, haha, I'm being a quirky commentator. He was like, no, like I kind of
right, like it felt too real the way he said it. Where I was like,
he's a dog, like he wasn't playing. Which honestly, I think that's a fun fight. But
yeah,
anyway,
super fun.
Not gonna happen. But I mean, what do you want to see next for Belal? I mean, there's really 2 options, and I guess I'll let you go first. But I know how I feel.
I mean, I wouldn't mind the Covington fight, to be quite honest. Yeah. Burns is probably more fun, but I like the Covington fight.
Oh, I'll be real. Burns wasn't even in my lexicon. I don't hate that. I just don't know what it does for either guy.
Right, that's where I feel like it's kind of a punishment to have to make those guys fight each other for both guys.
I agree. A
fun fight, though.
Don't love that. What I think is going to happen, Dana was even beating around the bush that, I mean, he's trying to make the Hamzat Colby fight.
Yeah, right.
He openly admitted it, which is fire. That's option
dude,
one.
the
That's
way
option
Colby
A.
sells that fight. Ugh.
That's amazing. I mean, that's box office. That's big time.
Yeah.
Could maybe even headline a pay-per-view. Maybe. I wouldn't be stoked.
I wouldn't.
I could see him doing
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I could see him doing it.
I like it a lot more than Colby Masvidal.
I also wouldn't mind seeing Colby have to go 3 rounds with Hamzat, though. That sounds like a different fight.
Oh, yeah, way different. But I like the 5.
Fair. All fair. But I honestly don't think Colby's going to take the fight. Now, do I think that he should be allowed to not take the fight? Fuck no. I think, all right, you're vacating the rankings and,
right.
His world higher or change weight classes because...
You got to fight back at some point in your career, man. You can't always just fight for the belt every time.
And you can't only fight guys on losing streaks, and you can't
Also
only bro. I think I saw something that since 2019, since the RDA fight, which I think was in 2019, every fight Colby's had is a guy coming off of 2 losses or some besides the Usman fight, obviously. He just.
You know what,
bro? Colby's got to fight, bro. Fuck your watch. Fuck your lawsuit. Fuck your excuses. Fuck your number 1 ranking at this point.
Number 2 now that Usman's won.
Yeah, exactly. Good. I'm glad to see him slide. And I love watching Colby fight, and I love how Colby sells fights. I just what's it been? I mean, he fought Masvidal, right? But god damn it, I'm so down on Masvidal that that fight really didn't even make sense. It shouldn't have happened. That was some gimmick.
They just hated
weird
each other.
Shit.
Really.
I know, and it's cool, all right, sell some pay-per-views, but I don't even really count that. When's the last? I mean, the Usman. I don't know, bro.
So who do you think Belal gets?
I think he ends up. Here's what happens. He either ends up.
I know who he has to fight. I just thought about it. I know who he has to fight.
He might fight Hamzat.
I think he has to fight the winner of Shavkat and Jeff Neal.
Bro. That would be so salty. I'd rather see Burns. You might as well do Burns at that point. You gotta.
I bet that's what the UFC does because they don't really love. But he is a UFC dude. He does their show. Are they not going to help him out? They don't help him out really.
They don't.
He did say as well that he does want the number 1
contender. Leon main event though. It ended poorly, so we don't count it as a favorite. But they did give him a Leon Edwards main event.
Yeah, true. And he was getting the dog shit whooped out of him in the first round. I scored a 10-8 for Leon. I still remember that. I was going to bring that up. How good is Leon that he beat the shit out of Belal back then?
Yeah, so I want to see good things happen for Belal. I think the bottom, the floor, worst case scenario is the Burns fight. I think
that's what I hope for. That's what I hope for.
Is either Hamzat or Colby. I predict if I had to put this is gonna be. I mean, I don't know. I was gonna say if I had to let my nuts hang, and then I was gonna give the most lukewarm take ever. I mean, either Hamzat or Colby, one of the two, because I don't think they're gonna fight each other. I think that's the fight that needs to happen. So that's why I'm talking out of both sides of my neck. Because Hamzat and Colby should be signed. There's no but I don't have faith in Colby to take it. I don't. So I think Belal either ends up fighting Colby or Hamzat.
I could see Belal. I could see Belal Hamzat from Colby just sitting.
Or I could see Belal Colby, because Colby could even try to pull some lawyer bullshit Hamzat can't make weight. I'm not risking my pay-per-view.
Belal, didn't he call out Hamzat?
Belal called out both, I think. I'm pretty sure. And
said he wants a number 1 contenders fight, and he said I'll fight him even at 178.5, which was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I don't know, dude. I'm cool with either one, but I'm not cool with the Rakhmonov. That I can't even remember.
Rakhmonov, Jeff Neal. I mean, that's a 10-6 matchup, and Rakhmonov's crazy gassed up. If he finishes Jeff Neal, because all of his wins are finishes, every single one, Shavkat, and it's 11-10 split or whatever it is. I love Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm a lot of cold. I think he dispatches Jeff Neal in a finish. So at that point, coming off that kind of momentum, he's gonna be there looking for something.
You know who agrees with you? Chael. This is what Chael said. Chael said that he's going to fight the winner of Rakhmonov.
No way.
Jeff Neal, yeah. And I was watching it, and I was pissed off. I was oh hell no, that's fucked up. But y'all are making sense, man. That would suck.
And if Jeff
Like,
Neal wins, he's number 6. Like, he has to fight up. And it's like, well, the open fights are pretty much Belal or Burns. And Belal's a more fun fight.
the only reason why, like, all right, so if say they made that fight, but they guaranteed it was a number 1 contenders match.
I don't like Jeff Neal to
Right.
have a number 1 contenders, like,
That's
guarantee.
what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing. No, I'm not saying Rakhmonov Neal, but I'm saying the winner of Rakhmonov Neal versus Belal being a number 1 contenders match, and maybe by then. But see, that's not going to work because that means if that fight happens, that means Colby Hamzat signed, and if Colby and Hamzat sign, that's the number 1 contenders match.
When
So,
Gilbert Burns stays active, so who's he going to fight? Because Stephen Thompson signed to fight.
see, I think you give Burns the winner of Rakhmonov.
See, that makes more sense to me, too.
I think that like that's how my bracket would look.
And
That's how
Rakhmonov and
the-
Burns is a fun fight.
Oh, and Jeff Neal and Burns is a fun fight. Like that's what I'm saying.
Let's be honest.
And you don't shaft Belal. Yeah, man. I don't know, bro. I think it would be really salty too. You froze.
Yeah, he broke up again, but that's all right. I think it's a good time to wrap up the prelims. That is the
Yes,
end of
sir.
them, and we'll take a quick break and then come back at you for the 5-fight main card. All ranked fights, all pretty much number 1 contenders matchups minus second fight in, or for a belt rather.
Yeah, and you can argue. You know what I'm saying?
From
Yeah.
the performance, right? Yeah, like there's a lot to be said and talked about here. Like we're about to play
Right.
matchmaking galore here.
This
So,
is gonna be so fun, bro. So fun. Yeah, let's wrap this up. Let's get to it. I cannot fucking wait. Tune in.
perfect. Coming back in about 5 minutes for episode 107 main card. We'll see you there. Like and subscribe.